My Science Project is a 1985 sci-fi comedy about a bunch of high school teenagers who find an alien engine that can manipulate time and space and try to pass it off as a science project in order to graduate. The film stars John Stockwell, who plays Mike, a gearhead who is better with cars than he is with people. John would eventually go on to direct the movie Blue Crush and at least one other movie with blue in the title. Fisher Stevens plays Vince Latello, a tough-talking Italian stereotype who is Mike's best friend. Fisher has starred in other films like Super Mario Bros., Hackers, and Short Circuit. Danielle von Zerneck plays Ellie, a nerdy bookworm and part of the school yearbook committee, and Raphael Sbarge, who plays the nerdy, socially awkward Sherman. Raphael went on to voice Kaiden in the Mass Effect trilogy, if you actually chose to save him over Ashley. The film begins in the 1950s with a title crawl while several vehicles traverse the hillside heading for a small military base. An old man gets out of a car and banters with a high-ranking military official who leads him into a hangar filled with strobing lights. As they enter, he mentions that the alien craft entered military airspace and crashed. They found the remains of 2 alien bodies which are currently being studied, and in one of the dumbest parts of the movie, the old man looks at the general and says,
"Get rid of it."
They then shoot the ship with some kinds of fancy laser, and we fade to 1985, where science class is in session. The nerds are actually paying attention while everyone else is goofing off. Their teacher, Bob Roberts, is played by the late, great Dennis Hopper, who pretty much needs no introduction. And he definitely is one of the best parts of this movie. Mike confides with Vince in the back of the classroom. Why they picked a quiet lull in the class discussion to make this move is just asking for the teacher to call on
Harlan?
See? Told you. So the poor man's Bill and Ted are exposed and vulnerable, but they are saved by the bell because of course. Bob and Mike chat a bit, and Mike uses his gearhead prowess to make an excuse, and Bob reinforces his science project deadline. He does encourage him to
do something special, something original.
He sends him on his way while joking about the 60s, and then he takes a hit of some oxygen because he's the groovy teacher, right? So Mike runs into Peppermint Patty here, who's reading Cosmo. Through a long-winded speech, she says that her issue of Cosmo basically told her that it was a good time to break up with him. She also puts in a dig about him being too involved with his car far too much as another reason to end the relationship. So she broke up with him because he works on his car too much? Did Billy Gordell lie to me?
I always tell young guys, work on your car. Nobody ever got laid in the back of an iPhone.
Ellie, who works for the school yearbook committee, asks him some personal questions and briefly comments on his breakup from 5 minutes ago. Apparently everyone in the school already knew before he did. At one point, she asks,
"Favorite video game?"
World Series.
Now I thought he said that because he's into cars and by extension, sports, and he wouldn't know the latest video games, so he just says the title of a famous sporting event. But I looked it up, and there really is a game called World Series that came out in 1985. So good job, movie, for putting a real video game reference that isn't forced or cliche. You get a positive mark for that. They mourn the breakup, confide in one another, and Vince says the dumbest line in the movie.
My old man says treat broads like dirt and they love you.
Oh, yeah? What's your old lady say? Come on.
Oh, my parents are divorced. That's how come I'm living out here in the sticks with the old man.
Oh, I get it. But was that contradiction supposed to be funny? Because it just seems like incompetent writing instead. This movie is full of jokes and contradictions that don't land, but maybe these will.
Why can't women be like cars, I mean, you put gas in a car and you cruise. Try and treat that girl nice and she leaves me in the dust.
They fire up the car and get ready to leave. And then there's this funny wipe.
Yeah.
Huh? That's Deb. Let's go.
Is Vince just going to hang on the whole time? Don't worry. I'm sure no Vinces were harmed in the making of this movie. Now, I'd like to just talk about gearheads and jocks for a second. See, gearheads are not the same as jocks. Gearheads are not quite as popular. They can be, but usually the jocks are the ones that get the girls because they play the football and the sports, and they're popular, and they get the homecoming queen or the prom queen. If Tokyo Drift taught us anything, gearheads are technically not jocks, and they're not treated the same way, at least in the high school hierarchies. So Ellie has car trouble, and she is apparently blocking the only route out of the school. Ellie must know Mike is on his way because she takes off her retainer in preparation. There is a jeep full of jocks, and Sherman is here too, and they're not waiting very patiently. There seems to be plenty of room, which is evident when Mike cuts in line and pulls up next to her. Just open the fence or something. Where are the lines of parents, the security guards, the teacher chaperones? Oh yeah, this is the 80s. People weren't so uptight back then. Sherman becomes a bit jealous as Mike checks under her hood. Ellie apparently sabotaged it to lure him there, and Mike knows exactly what's going on, because
Distributor caps don't just pop off unless you want them to.
she tells him she wants a date because
I need you to save me from being voted senior class spinster.
this is a nice potential character arc. The nerd that wants to be more popular. They don't really go anywhere with it, but that would be nice. She would eventually recognize that being popular isn't worth it. Mike goes home to his dad's shop where he learns about his new spinster, a woman named Dolores. Awkwardness ensues, and a dog eats Chinese food. So, for their date, Mike takes Ellie to the old military base from the beginning of the movie, which is now some kind of graveyard for old planes and helicopters. Mike hopes to find some kind of doohickey that will help him with his science project. Ellie follows along but is annoyed, saying,
Doesn't anybody wine and dine a girl anymore?
Mike wanders through the darkness, probably just wishing that he had grabbed some styrofoam to make planet models, when he... Ellie leans over the pit, concerned. Yep, lean over so we can see the goods.
Arch your back, Pumpkin. Everyone wants to see those lovelies.
In the dusty space, Mike pulls out the glowing alien gizmo. And it's still lit up after 30 years. Your PS4 won't last that long. Above the pit, a rat disturbs Ellie.
Look, we gotta get out of here.
No way! I am not setting foot on that ratty ground.
There are worse things than rats, you know.
Oh, yes, such as what?
Hey! You kids! Hold it right there!
They are discovered, but it's only by a single fat guy who runs with the dog instead of just sicking a perfectly good attack dog on them. So they are able to escape from where they came in. While driving away, the gizmo drains the car battery. Remember that sparks equals bad. Mike refuses to walk into town because...
If I walked into town, the whole world would know I broke down.
But it's also the middle of the night, so who would really care? He also says...
First of all, I never leave my goat out here, all right?
At first I thought he was referring to the acronym GOAT, meaning greatest of all time. But that wasn't coined until '92. He's actually referring to his car, the '68 Pontiac GTO, which is referred to as a GOAT. Now you know that random car fact, and so do I. He gets help from a female truck driver and calls Vince on the CB radio. There is a funny bumper sticker because Vince is foul and edgy or whatever. He's getting it on with his lady friend but stops to help Mike. Seems weird that he would want to give up sexy fun time, but at least he's adhering to that most holy commandment of the unwritten law. Bros before hoes. Mike apparently got a beer somewhere as his car is getting a push from Vince. Don't drink and drive, kids. As they travel through the city, an annoying driver gets an interesting surprise.
Sit on this, butt plug.
What's that, the right too?
They pull up to Ellie's house and have the usual first date awkward car moment because they can't do the kissing scene quite yet. Sherman is wearing some interesting headgear and spying on them with the jocks? Apparently Motorhead Mike breaking down is a big deal. I guess Mike was worried about this and saw it coming earlier in the movie. Hey, is that the script over there? Of course, Ellie still...
Had a really neat time tonight.
I guess she likes the danger. There's also a reference to a video cassette, because, 80s.
How much? One video cassette.
Back at the garage, the two guys work on the car, and Vince's girlfriend works on herself. This movie seems to be existing in some alternate reality where the female truck driver is pretty and friendly, lacking in butchness, but the pretty girlfriend is the butch one. Good reversal of tropes movie. I give you another good mark for that. Ooh, Chloe, foreshadowing. Remember typing class? We get our first good look at the gizmo, and Mike does what everyone who's ever visited a science museum does. Wow, aliens use the same plasma ball technology. Just a side note, you can buy one of those plasma balls for about $15 at Walmart. They even go down to about $9, but I can't vouch for their quality at that point. We also get the secret to 80s movie dialogue. It's probably a blank, yes, but what kind of blank?
Could be an engine or something.
Yeah, but an engine to what?
Looks like some sort of secreted resin.
Yeah. But secreted from what?
They suspect it could be an engine. Then they jump the gizmo and trippy stuff happens.
Look. Yeah.
It also makes an Egyptian vase appear.
What's this?
A vase that's perfect for me.
Then they take this miraculous device and they just put it on a shelf. Okay, oops. It looks like they forgot about the Klingon axe. They go outside of the auto shop and their science final is over. Look everyone, time travel. They go to the library and as per the use, they ask the nerd for help. The flickering lights throughout the scene are a nice touch, but somewhere a custodian is going insane. Remember card catalogs? They explain one of the main gimmicks in the movie, how things warp in from different points in time and space. The gizmo is a time travel and time object transport device at the same time.
And boom! You're all cosmic dust!
Cosmic dust, got it. They run into Bob, who is angry that they missed the final. They make a big deal out of getting a bad grade and failing.
You both get D's.
Hey, I'll take it.
Seriously, no F's? You can still pass with a D. Heck, I did. He encourages them to come up with something.
Dino Supreme.
Remember payphones? Mike asks Ellie on another date because she needs to be part of the plot too. Uh-oh. Watch out, Ellie. Seriously, the main antagonist of this film was probably supposed to be Cosmopolitan magazine. He goes home and finds that his dad just got married in the last 24 hours apparently and is not practicing good social distancing or common sense. I like how the room goes from manly to girly in the same shot. So Mike leaves the pink simp room and later on his dad comes to yell at him. Remember black and white TV and shows about dogs? I know Star Wars is popular, but look, I'm starting to doubt the validity of these finger quote jocks. Remember lava lamps? Bob is grading papers when they show him the gizmo back at the school. Nice peace sign, dude. He is way too interested in the gizmo. Even the science professor hasn't been to a science museum. I find that hard to believe. So yep, as expected, the metal that makes up the gizmo is not from this earth, and it generates power and light without heat. That would definitely fix that red ring of death on your Xbox. Remember that? Then Bob geeks out over the gizmo.
Can you imagine the advanced alien civilization that created this? I mean, this is bigger than all of us. I mean, this is bigger than any of us. This is bigger than the planet. It's even bigger than the solar system.
But is it bigger than the Beatles?
Is this like when you... No. Hey, I vote we tell the police about this.
The pigs, no pigs!
You know, a lot of people are saying that in 2020. It needs more power, because of course it does, so Bob plugs it in. So the jocks were going to make a big deal out of Mike breaking down, but all they really do is silly string his car. That's dumb. Remember silly string? Bob goes crazy and then gets sucked into the gizmo and disappears to somewhere. Then, back in the car, they realize they need to stop the warp by cutting the power, which is growing out of control. Because, of course it is. How about unplugging the machine from the wall? That might do it.
The more power it eats, the stronger it gets.
The longer the icon of sin is on Earth, the stronger he will become.
They drive back to the shop and hatch a plan to blow up the power lines to black out the town and stop the warp. Hey, what did I say about unplugging it? Or just cut the wire with the Klingon axe from earlier? They take some supplies and leave the peace sign behind. For some reason, they were able to outrun the electrical current and place the dynamite. There's not enough power to the detonator because of course there isn't, so they use the car battery. If at first you don't succeed. At first, he wouldn't even mess with his car. Now he uses it to stop the warp. He's starting to relax his hold on his hobby and care more about people. See? Character development. After the last explosive scene, they go by the school that is being investigated by the police and drive by some guys fixing the power.
What are we gonna do?
About 1 to 5 with good behavior.
Hey, a joke that kind of lands. I'll give you a point for that. So they drop off Vince and... what is the point of this shot? This isn't the electrical tower they blew up. Shouldn't they be investigating that one? They sit and listen to the news in another awkward car moment.
I can't stop thinking about Bob.
See now about the dangers of Ellie reading Cosmo? She's hanging out with you, Mike, but she's totally thinking about that older man with the good teacher's pension. She leaves to go home, but he is still on the rebound and wants to have a little chat. They have the "why didn't I notice you before" discussion. And they kiss. Good job holding back on the kiss a little bit. So Mike sneaks back into his room and there's a TV playing Davy Crockett for some reason.
I'm the long arm of the law, the public conscience, Detective Jack Nolte.
Oh, that's why. The detective has been eavesdropping and smoking a cigar. His dad tattled on him with the police about the shop break-in.
Well, hell yeah. I haven't had a real good case in a long time, and I ain't about to piss this one away.
Maybe you're not a good enough detective to get the good cases.
Now you're gonna need a court order for this. What's the charge?
Don't worry, he's not looking at my face anyway. So this guy went to the empty school building and got all this info, complete with eyewitnesses, in the same evening? Anyway, Mike asks if he can grab a jacket and takes the time to call Ellie so she can once again be included in the plot. Remember rotary phones, floppy disk drives, James Dean record players, and alligator polo shirts? Mike tells her to bring the gizmo to the police station. At the police station, Mike and Vince provide some information. Here, we have the payoff for the peace sign necklace. You know, they sure did fix the power really fast. Funny, in a movie featuring time travel and alien technology, that's what bothers me. They get fingerprinted.
In the court of law.
Okay, McCloud.
Remember McCloud from the 70s? Nope, neither do I. Back at the school, Ellie walks into the room and sees a bunch of weird stuff that has been pulled from the time-space warp and sits around the gizmo. There's a sword, a revolver, dinosaur bones, a lion statue, and a jump scare. Sherman and Ellie argue a bit over the gizmo, and then there's a drastic shift in tone. This short interaction between Vince and the female cop made me laugh.
Why do you wear sunglasses at night?
Because when you're cool, the sun shines on you 24 hours a day.
Oh, yeah?
Chill out, Butch.
She really did make the most of her short bit. There is another power outage, and they escape. Nice security, police station. Oh, and once again, Sparks bad. Did Vince just steal a police car? After a pretty cool shot of the city, they go back to the school to check on the gizmo and Ellie.
Go Speed Racer! Go Speed Racer! The demon undistracted!
Remember Speed Racer? Strange things are afoot at the Circle K. They notice the gizmo is at full power and creating a massive vortex over the school. I am the keymaster, you the gatekeeper? The skeletons I meet say they'd lay on their back just to lead the way. So Ellie is stuck in the tower and
The whole school's in the warp!
Brooklyn Boy grabs a shotgun from the police car he stole, and they go in to get her. So time and space merging together looks like the Haunted Mansion at Disneyland. Good to know. They get attacked by a damn dirty ape.
Whining, Barney Rubble just tried to flame me out.
Blah blah blah, remember the Flintstones? They continue to explore the school, run into this random gladiator.
Hey, Sherm, what's he saying?
He's going to kick our ass.
Your flimsy prop sword doesn't scare me. After a bunch of high school guys defeat a trained gladiator, they find themselves in the jungle as...
The warp's getting stronger.
Remember the Vietnam War movies? Yeah, I could beat up trained fighters and warlords in high school with no training. Yeah, that's easy. And how do they fight so good and know how to use guns, you ask?
Cliff notes, Latello.
Hey.
They grab some guns and head to a futuristic-looking section of the school. Seriously, these places are arranged like game levels or the train cars on the Snowpiercer. Remember that axe from earlier? They flee into the gym, which is stuck in prehistoric times.
My ears are ringing like the Gong Show. I can't hear nothing.
Remember the... who cares?
And I don't see that, neither.
Sherman?
Then they encounter...
I'm the motherfucking T-Rex!
It's God-funking Zilla.
You know, I used to think they censored that for TV, but it's actually written like that. It's okay, you can check if you want. The script is over there. They shoot at it a lot during a really awkward effects sequence, which is a little bit jarring. It looks kind of stupid now, but as a kid in the 80s, consider my mind blown. I know this looks bad, but I assure you, no Vinces were harmed in the making of this movie. Mike finally breaks out the
rocket launcher.
Oh look, they all survived. Yay. They escape the gym and run through the secret to 1980s special effects, the fog machine, and end up in a room with the gizmo. The ceiling waits until they get there to break into pieces. So Mike is able to rescue Ellie despite all that plasma, lightning, wind, time vortex stuff. Really? After waking Ellie up, they want to leave, but the future warriors are behind the door. The Brady but nope, I'm so done with this running gag. So Mike is gonna have to turn off the gizmo. Seriously, like I said before, just find the plug.
Isaac? Carver, what's going on?
Isaac! Hey!
Mike manages to stop the gizmo, but he disappears in the vortex. And then he comes back because reasons. Seriously, this movie has done a pretty good job of explaining things up to this point and what the gizmo does, but it just decides to stop. They are able to make their way back outside the building and are okay. But guess who shows up to tie up loose ends?
What's your name, cowboy?
Robert Roberts, Esquire to you, honky. And the future is a groove, man! I made sure of that. It's a funky valley high!
So it looks like Bob has changed the future. That would make a fun sequel. But with 13% on Rotten Tomatoes, it's not really possible. But hey, Hollywood's remaking everything, so just wait.
Easy on the fringe, Kojak.
God, no, there's too many references. So stupid. What references in a movie? It's like Transformers. So Mike puts the gizmo back so he can get an A on his science project. Yep, that's one of the conditions. Then his goat breaks down again because he forgot to fill it up with gas. Isn't that funny? But he's okay with walking this time because character arc. So they walk into town hand in hand, and with a bit of possible foreshadowing in the form of a plasma bolt, the movie ends. You know, this movie was pretty fun, but I have some questions. Why did they want to get rid of the alien craft? The first Roswell sighting happened in '47. Did they see it and were like, we already have another one of these alien ships at Area 51. We don't need two of them. They're costing the taxpayers money. That's a pretty fancy laser gun for 1957. Did they borrow it from Red Skull? Was this shop originally a True Value store, or did they just superimpose a sign over it? Either way, it looks cheap. Do these type of military yards really exist? Are there really military graveyards with only one security guy? You'd think that an alien spacecraft would have some actual security. They closed an Air Force base near my house, and you don't even know there was one there in the first place. I also live near the old Tustin Marine Base hangars, and there aren't any military machines to be seen. Doesn't make sense they wouldn't reuse or break down their military hardware and vehicles. Why does this fence have a giant tear in it, and why didn't they fix it? Why wouldn't the government want to make weapons or something out of the gizmo? They just discarded it like some low-level sword in some MMO. If this happened today, Trump would go on TV and take all the credit. He would be like, I've invented time travel. Grovel at my feet, bitches. They kick a guy out of the payphone next to them. Why? First, it's not nice to do this, and secondly, you can still make a phone call with someone else nearby. And of course, the biggest plot hole, how are they able to outrun the electrical current? The average speed of an electrical current is 270,000 kilometers per second. And that car goes, I don't know, somewhere around 200 plus kilometers per hour? Nope, that's not happening at all. And that's my science project. It's dumb, cheesy, and like Swiss cheese, full of holes. But the characters, though a bit flat, are fun to watch and somewhat endearing. The movie is well paced, and I was never bored watching it. It borrows from a lot of other movies and is full of too many badly shoehorned in references. I enjoyed my time with it as a kid, and it still has a place in my entertainment. If you enjoyed this video, please like and possibly subscribe. It takes almost no time, and it really helps me out. This is Dan T from Twisted Banana Productions signing out to go listen to that catchy credits song again.
Time to increase your mental retention.